well, not scientific, okay, because there is a fact, obvious fact, that the Quran is still functioning. Millions of Muslims believe in the Quran. And I'm still telling this from my position as a scholar. Millions of Muslims believe in the Quran. Millions of Muslims consider the Quran their own holy text. They read it. Okay, they try to apply the legal aspect of it. They try to live according to the teaching of the Quran. How would anyone claim that it was temporary? This is not scientific. Okay. Anyway, the other aspect, for example, we say critical. Naqd, this is an Arabic naqd. And I think some of you who know Arabic know that the da and the dad could be misspelled. Okay, because this da and dad is very difficult even for foreigners. When we teach Arabic, we have to say someday. So this is da. Today, this is da. But naqd is criticism, while naqd is destruction. So if some shaykh would go to the mosque and say, Abu Zayd is applying naqd to the Quran, oh my God, destructive. This is how also language will be used. This is again the ideological game between powers who have no way of competing, of exchanging idea, but through accusations. It's again the absence of a free atmosphere, political, intellectual, social, free market. Well, the economic free market is everywhere in our country. I used to say the my Sudanese students, well, our prices now in Egypt, this was in 1982, our prices now in Egypt is capitalistic, according to the market. But our salaries are socialists. So we are living double life. We are taking our salaries according to our country is very poor. And so you have to suffer like other people. Okay, I'm willing to suffer. But if you are opening the market and the prices are going to the sky, then people are making fortunes. Not me. Well, I can make fortune also. But in this case, I have to give private lesson. I have to behave not like a real professor. So this is something. So we are living in a free market, economic market all over the Muslim world and the Arab world. You know the situation in Tunisia. And you will have the president and his family have all the wealth. So there is a free market, according to globalization, is enforcing the opening of all markets. You cannot resist that. This is the new theology of the world. This is the new God, the market. Okay? With a theology. Our world is accepting the new theology. It is worshipping very sincerely the new God, but not with the consequences of free economic market, with having a social free market, a political free market, an intellectual free market. Still our governments left everything for the private sector. Everything. From bread to clothing. Not culture. Culture is in the hands very firmly in the government. Why culture? Because this is the formation, the way how to form the consciousness of the people. So it should go through the regime planning. So what is in accordance with the regime will be passed on TV, in newspaper. What is in contradiction to this is not. That is the real problem in the Muslim world. And we have to address this problem rather than associating problems to Islam. So my way, I mean, my message in my teaching, in my scholarship work, is to find out what is the reason behind this kind of reluctance, intellectual reluctance to understand or to explain, or even to think about another explanation than the explanation that have been transmitted through centuries without being questioned. So with due respect to my ancestors, whether these ancestors are Shafi'i, the great Imams, or these ancestors are Rifa'at al-Tawi, Taha Hussein. I mean, I'm talking about my ancestors here in a very wide range, even from the Islamic history. I am luckier than them, simply because I live here in this moment. I used to tell my students, well, while you are not so happy because I criticize, some of the writing of these ancestors. Because they are great imams. And of course, implied in this, who are you? I mean, this is implied. Okay. Are we talking about Shafi'i? Shafi'i is a great imam. Well, they don't say who are you, but the message is implicit. You say, well, of course, Shafi'i is a great imam, Tabari is a great imam, Zamakhshari is a great imam. All right, but I learn what they have written. I have to add, not to copy. And it's like a child. The child can look further if his father put him into shelter. So his vision would be further than his father. I am this child. I am in the shoulder of the great imams. I came after them. I learned what they have to teach, and I'm trying to add something, not just to copy. Reproducing of classical idea is not the work of the historian. Reproducing of classical idea is the work of a preacher. A preacher is in the mosque or in the church, is quoting here and here and here and making those things. There is no creativity. Because you go to the church, you are a believer. You go to the mosque, you are a believer. So he is depending on a treasure of knowledge behind him and just invoking this knowledge in you. Sometimes a preacher would pretend that he is coming for a very, very authentic, original idea. But he is acting like a witchcraft person. Playing the word. Is a professor is supposed to do this? It's just to consume and what has been transmitted, digested, and then reproduce it? Well, it's very much something like, instead of having the fruit, the fresh fruit, from the tree, from the field, and give your stomach and your body the possibility to deal with organic material and therefore to generate your strength. You just depend on tablets, a ready-made food. And this is very, very dangerous to the stomach. Stomach cancer would be there. There is a cancer of brain. It's more than that. Sometimes I feel it's very strange. What is the scholar? Scholar, professor of degree. The scholar have two basic functions: to teach in university or institution, and to make research. And of course, by making research, he develops his own knowledge. And by this, he developing his methodology of teaching, trying to present what he reaches in his scholarship to his students, have a discussion with his students, and by getting feedback by the students, they raise questions, and then he goes on the research. This is the process of a professor. If a professor is deprived of his students, half of his brain is not working. This is exactly the situation I found myself in Egypt. I did not leave Egypt any danger. There is, of course, the possibility of danger anywhere in the world. I mean, you don't have to be in Egypt, and a lieutenant person would just, a knife. You could be in the United States, and the crazy one in the street could kill you. So we are living in a world of danger. I mean, life is danger. So you have to live it or to leave it. So it's not really, some people thought in the West, well, there is danger in your life. I lived with it because I was afraid that someone would kill me. No, I did not think ever that in the university, in my own home, okay, a student will kill me or assault me. Of course, maybe there is a strong language in the acting of my idea, but it's acceptable in the university. I encourage this. It's because part of me was about to be frozen in the future. Because it was not possible that I could go to the university and teach surrounded by, machine gun people carrying security persons, because the moment what happened, the university, there was a threat, okay, so the government protected me. They sent an army to my house. It's terrible life. I mean, if you are, I don't know how Salman Rushdie enjoyed it, but some people enjoy it. It's terrible life. It is terrible life if you live under protection. It means you are not an ordinary person. Just to ease the discussion, when first I left Egypt, we went to Madrid. It was 50 degrees in July. It was very hot summer. But I just put my luggage in the hotel. It was 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, but it was 50. And I was like a child in the street. I wanted to go for a coffee shop to have a sandwich. It was like a child. His father and mother were locking him, and suddenly he unlocked the door and found himself. Protection. What protects you is your communication with the society in which you live, with the environment in which you live. So that's why it was for me just to save at least the scholar. Well, I should say that I'm lucky because now I'm teaching in the Leiden University, and more lucky also to have Muslim students, whether from the master degree course or the PhD degree course. So being a teacher and being a researcher and feeding back by way of addressing his students, having their questions, improving his way of research. A methodology is not something which in a moment is final. Well, when a professor or a scholar feel that there is no questions in his brain, then this is death. So sometimes I feel very young when questions as to jump to my brain. When my students sometimes challenge my ideas, and when they challenge it, they give me more motivation to work. So this is what I think the function of a professor, as a teacher, as a scholar, in Islamic studies or in religious studies, is to study religion, not to teach religion. And there's a difference between teaching religion and studying religion. If you teach religion, you depend on a specific mode of interpretation. You believe this is the best mode of interpretation, and you just teach it to the student. And this is possible in theological institutions which are attached to churches. But in a university, in Quranic studies, which is Islamology or Christology, Okay, they avoid now using Islamists. They used to say Islamist study or Islamic study. Even they don't use Islamic study, because you see, Islamic study, it means you are studying as a Muslim. Okay? Which means you are teaching religion. You are not studying religion. And religion, the definition of religion, is not only the essential text of religion. When we speak about Islam, we spoke about a variety of discourses. The Quran and the Prophet tradition is part of it. But again, the history of Islamic thought, the history of Islamic religion is a human production. People who try to understand religion and produce their understanding in commentaries on the Quran, in jurisprudence, in theology, in philosophy, in literature. So 90% of what is called religion is human discourse. And human discourse is open to critique. Because human knowledge does develop only through historical criticism. For the study of the essential text, of course you have to go to the historical context, the history of the canonization of the text. I'm sure very, very few scholars in Islamic study, Muslim scholars in Islamic study, are aware of the history of the canonization of the Quran. But if they go to the sources, the traditional and the classical sources of Islamic study, and analyze it critically, they can understand that it took some time to reach a canonized, accepted text, which is text receptus. This is history, we have to study it. We should not be afraid as Muslims to study the history of our religion, the history of our culture. There is something, fear is a sign of weakness. Well, I'm not going to explain from where this weakness or this fear is coming from, because this will lead us to a social and political and economic analysis of the Muslim movement and its history, especially during the last 3 centuries at least. But at the end, Muslims in the 21st century had to deal with this question, and they have to stop the apologetic approach or the polemic discourse. They have, Muslim scholars as well as non-Muslim scholars, have to involve themselves very heavily in a dialogue based on academic research. And this is exactly part of the problem of what is called the interreligious dialogue. Interreligious dialogue is something like negotiation. People are negotiating with each other. People here are representative of religious institutions. The church, Muslim institutions are coming together, and they are saying very easily, we are brothers. Let's just forget about our differences. And they are doing this not out of pragmatic situation, which we need to go into an interreligious dialogue based on real academic historical knowledge of the histories of our religions, whether it is Christianity or Islam or Judaism. Something has been done already in the history of biblical studies. In the field of Islamic and Quranic studies, it's behind this. Of course, when we speak about methodology, Muslim scholar does not have to copy blindly the methodologies that are used in biblical studies, because if you define the difference in the textual structure and the historical background of the text, okay, and the language of the text, this is different history, different structure. So whoever would blindly, take the methodology of biblical studies and apply it to the Quran, this is again another version of traditionalism. But instead of copying the past, he is copying the present from another culture. without being aware of the different cultural background. So study, this is what I'm trying to present as a scholar, as a teacher, both together. And so far, this did not negatively affect our belief as a Muslim. I'm not an atheist. I'm not even agnostic. Because this is not necessarily a result of academic and scientific research. People think that when the moment you get into a real discussion, then your faith is questioned. No, I think our religion, I think Islam is very strong. I think the Quran is not going to be destroyed if it's studied correctly, historically, into context. Nothing like this would happen. Of course, it could happen by ideological influences, which comes even from people who think they are very traditional. And on this, I give so many examples in my books and in my paper, how the traditional methodology applied blindly to the Quran is about to demolish the meaning of religion. It's about to block the meaning of the Quran in a specific historical context, which is the context which was produced some centuries ago. Religious texts are the subject of interpretation and reinterpretation, and that is the way these texts live through history. They live via the acquirement of the believer to find answers to the growing questions they face. And with this, the Quran has been known for more than 14th century. It's a living text. It has gone through literal interpretation, metaphorical interpretation, symbolic interpretation. It is open to the Shia and the Sunni, and to fraction between the Sunni and fraction between the Shias. And no one has the right to say this is the objective interpretation. Because the Quran is not the private ownership of any group. We have to discuss, we have to go into discussion, we have to go into dispute, we have to go into dialogue. This is possible. And without this dialogue, even between Muslims, inter-Muslim dialogue is very, 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 very essential. A professor, a teacher, this is also part of his function, to enhance, to develop, to encourage through his students and through his participation in public discourse. Okay, to encourage this kind of discussion, of dialogue. And living in the West did not prevent me from contributing and being involved in discussion with the Muslim world. I'm there. Okay, physically, I'm here. But intellectually, I'm there. My books are there. I still publish my books in Arabic and in English. So it's the world has been also very, very, very few village. That's true. Even the notion of exile, it's funny to say exile nowadays. I mean, it's like a joke. Muhammad Abdu, the father of modern Islamic thought, when he exiled, he was exiled from Cairo to Beirut. This was an exile at that time. Another poet was exiled to Paris. This was an exile at that time. But now, if you by the internet reach your friend in less than 1 moment, if you read all the Arabic newspaper and magazines on the internet in Arabic, what kind of a world is this? This is the world in which we are living. So I think complaining, well, of course, you miss something. argument. But this is the personal aspect. This is the personal dimension. If the professional dimension, the teacher and the professor, is working as well as it is possible, concerning the age, concerning the circumstances, etc., I think this is the reason that you find me very, very optimistic, sometimes too optimistic. But again, a professor, a scholar, a teacher, does not have the pleasure, that cannot afford to be pessimistic. It's luxury to be pessimistic. If you are pessimistic, you are giving yourself excuse not to do it. The world is going to hell, going to vanish. I'm not going to go. Just sit at home. But to be optimistic means to continue where, to continue striving. And this is the part of being a teacher. And I hope I did not bore you about what take you to the kitchen. I wish, well, I brought a meal, ready meal, but then I didn't fit according to the request of Ayman Mubarak. And I would like to finish my speech by thanking him as representative of all these institutions and by your presence tonight. Thank you very much for this very, very emotional welcome, and I'd be very happy to respond to the discussion. Thank you. Can you allow me to sit down? Yes. At the end, I look young, but I'm old. You cannot tell how old I am. There is a secret.
Thank you. Lecture, Professor Hussein, we listened with pleasure, with interest. As a scholar and as a teacher, you did guide us from our presence to the past of Islam. You did guide us from Gadamer. He was guest of our university one year ago.
But he was brought a long time.
No, he said it's the last year. Last year, he is 1 year old.
We should have invited you last year. So you have the honor to meet him.
Yeah. You did guide us from Gadamer to Imam Shafi'i. He wrote, this book about him and the foundation of the middle ideology to the Prophet Muhammad. You put so many questions, so it will be easy to make remarks and observations on the topic. The topic was very broad, you felt it, and put new questions to deepen and to widen our knowledge with your help and with the help of the participants. So hereby I open the discussion. Any remarks, questions? Who's the first one? Ayman Mubarak.
You said interpretation is relative. You can't say this interpretation is objective and the other is not. For me as a Muslim, what am I supposed to do? Doing my own interpretation or relating to a certain interpretation? Another question would be, what suppose a society, if you could relate a different interpretation because it's relative?
Well, this is exactly what happened in history. I mean, it's not I'm inviting people to have different interpretations. What happened in history that we have different interpretations. Okay. And of course, because the epistemological problem is that as a believer, you have to, the word of God is revealed. Okay. So you have to re-reveal it to the social and cultural context. So if we are living in different social and cultural contexts, you cannot have a unified interpretation. Because what fits people in Indonesia, for example, or in South Africa, okay, does not necessarily fit people in other development. But of course, this does not lead to have so many Quran or interpretation, because you will find an agreement between every interpretation about certain